Tonight on The Real ER, doctors fear for the life of a young mechanic after a high-speed motorway smash. And a dog lover's good nature is tested to the limit when man's best friend puts her in hospital. All this and more tonight on The Real ER. It's been a turbulent year so far for the health service, but away from the political point scoring and public protests, 1.3 million NHS workers are getting on with their jobs, often in the most challenging of circumstances.
I've got potentially 2, 3, 4, probably 7 more to come to you.
Staff in the Accident and Emergency Department at Selly Oak Hospital in Birmingham deal with up to 280 cases a day. As well as patients from the immediate area, Selly Oak handles major trauma cases brought in from across the region by air ambulance. Once the hospital is alerted that a helicopter is on the way, the A&E team make urgent preparations. And by the time it lands, doctors and nurses are ready and waiting, under the direction of team leader Dr. Jerry Amana. 22-year-old Ricky Baines has been hurled out of his car after careering at high speed off the M1 near Leicester. Every member of the team waiting for him has a carefully designated role.
The porters will usually offload, and it's my job just to talk to the patient. Very few basic questions because I've had a handover, really just to introduce myself and reassure them to say where they are, where we're taking them, what's going to happen when they get in here. They're very often quite stunned and shaken because they've been in some sort of trauma.
The car has rolled. He's been thrown out through the front driver's window. Okay, the car's carried on, landed on its roof in the field. He's in the bottom of the shrubbery when we get there. All he's complaining of is pain in his lower back and some pain in his neck.
Likes to be known as Ricky,
Ricky, yeah.
Please. The injuries aren't always obvious. Sometimes you get internal bleeding that's not immediately obvious, and we'll monitor things very closely like his blood pressure, his pulse, because all of those will change if he's got internal bleeding or something going wrong.
Selly Oak is a regional trauma centre specifically geared up to deal with the most serious of injuries.
You felt the pulse?
Yeah, it's got a good femoral pulse.
In Ricky's case, one of the main concerns is that he may have suffered spinal injuries.
A little scratch coming over your finger, Ricky, okay, short scratch.
He's had quite a significant ejection from a car. He's quite conscious, remarkably so, considering, but he's complaining quite a lot of back pain. So we will be monitoring that just to check for spinal injury and bleeding.
It's difficult work, but many choose a career specialising in A&E.
It's fantastic. I mean, A&E is one branch of medicine that every doctor should, get involved with, because you see a variety of cases. It's not the kind of job that you'll be bored with. You see kids, you see adults, you see things like this, road traffic accidents. So you see a wide variety of cases. So it makes you a complete doctor. It's a fantastic profession, basically.
5 consultants, 26 doctors and 63 nurses deal with all sorts of patients, from those who can't speak to those with plenty to say. 89-year-old Beatrice Woodfield has been rushed into A&E after collapsing in church. The cause of the blackout is a mystery. All her symptoms seem to have vanished, and she certainly recovered her wits.
Everything I've come with, I haven't got. That's right.
You're the healthiest person I've met for a long time. She's a wonderful personality. I mean, she's nearly 90 years old and was very cheerful on arrival in A&E. Tried to persuade us that she was a complete fraud for coming here, but she had collapsed in church and she was unresponsive at the time, and so she does need to be here to investigate the reasons why. I'll find you a handsome doctor.
Oh, I must have a male doctor.
Oh, you want a male doctor?
Why not?
I'll warn the doctor how cheerful she is. She's lovely. She's really lovely.
In resus, doctors have deemed Ricky well enough to telephone loved ones 100 miles away in London to tell them about his accident.
The name of the hospital?
Selly Oak Hospital.
Selly Oak Hospital.
Raddlebarn Road.
Raddlebarn Road.
Birmingham.
Birmingham. I Okay, I've got to go do some X-rays now. Okay.
I'll stay on the line.
He's got no evidence of a spinal injury now because he's moving his legs and he's got normal sensation and everything. But he could have broken his back. He could have injured the vertebrae in his back. But we'll know more when we get some X-rays. So far, all we want to do is get the trauma panel, make sure his chest is fine and his neck, particularly his neck, he's complaining of some neck pain. And so we need to get those forms first and see if he's got a neck injury and a back injury.
He's talking, he's alert, he's got some pain in his back, he's got a bloodied nose. He's just gone to X-ray now, and I can tell you more if you ring back later on this number. Okay. Bye.
He seems stable now. We need to keep a really close eye on him because these patients are the ones that go off a bit quickly, I'm afraid.
Selly Oak is home to the Royal Centre for Defence Medicine, and as part of their training, doctors and nurses from the Army, Navy and Royal Air Force treat civilian patients.
Hello there.
Good morning.
Hi, is it Beatrice Woodfield?
I am.
Hi there, my name's Jen, I'm one of the doctors.
Thank you very much for coming.
Can you remember exactly what happened in the build-up to the collapse?
Well, not really, no. I stood for what part there was to stand, and part way through I decided I should sit down, which I did.
The Army training manual doesn't, however, prepare young officers for surprise attacks by spirited senior citizens.
Has anyone ever told you your heart's beating in a funny rhythm?
Only when I've been accosted by men. You get that?
If you can just don't move your head, but just sort of drop your jaw open as much as you can.
In X-ray, doctors are piecing together a full picture of the injuries suffered by Ricky Baines.
Okay, we're just about to investigate that.
Lying motionless, Ricky, a martial arts enthusiast, is only too well aware that how he lives the rest of his life depends on exactly what the X-rays show. Arriving to help out at her church, Beatrice Woodfield can reflect that she now enjoys the rare distinction of leaving at least one of her doctors in stitches. And after all, laughter is the best medicine. An irregular heartbeat was diagnosed as the cause of her collapse, and now she's back to her old self, but taking life just a little bit easier. Coming up after the break, Ricky Baines discovers the true extent of his injuries.
And stand up. Okay.
And one dog lover is bowled over by man's best friend.
The dog come round the corner and just knocked me off my balance.
All this and more on The Real ER. For Ricky Baines, the trainee mechanic airlifted to Selly Oak Hospital after a high-speed motorway smash, there's important news from Trauma Registrar Mr. Keith Hayward, the results of his X-rays.
Looking at the X-rays, there's no real soft tissue swelling in front of the broken bone. You know, if you're looking for any broken bones, you do get soft tissue swelling. The overall alignment of the bone looks fine. There's a tiny little flake of bone off there, which I'm slightly concerned about, and I'll speak to the radiologist whether or not we need to do a scan of his neck. I mean, he's got no obvious bony injury so far, but we're still X-raying his back because he has got some back pain. And obviously we need to scan his abdomen. That's the two most important things. But for somebody who was thrown from a car, not to have a neck injury, he's very lucky. Yeah.
It's a sunny day, and while many dog lovers are enjoying the weather with their pets, one, Christine Pedley, has found herself in casualty.
How are you?
Apart from this, all right, thank you.
How old are you?
I'm 52.
Okay. And what happened today?
Went to see my son-in-law.
Okay.
And we were talking, and one of his dogs come round and just knocked me off balance, and I sort of turned and
fell onto the ground and obviously injured your wrist.
My wrist, yeah.
So it was just a mechanical fall?
Yeah.
You didn't have any prior symptoms before you fell down on the floor?
No, it was basically just talking, and the dog come round the corner and just knocked me off my balance.
Okay. And obviously you're in quite a lot of pain now?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you, what about your fingers? Are they numb? Can you feel them? Or do they feel different from the bones?
They do feel numb, and the job to move them.
It wasn't just any old dog. Christine's family keep dogs de Bordeaux, a powerful breed that once fought bulls and can weigh in at anything up to 10 stone.
First of all, give some pain relief now, and then I'll also do an X-ray. That's look at the bones to see whether they're properly aligned, and if that's okay, you can go home. If it doesn't go according to plan, then we'll send it to the bone specialist, who will have a further re-look at it. We'll sort you out and make you happy.
Good.
All right. Thanks, sir.
For Ricky Baines, the news is good. His injuries are far less serious than feared. Doctors have told him he suffered 3 cracked vertebrae in his motorway smash, but things could have been far more serious.
I was going into the middle lane off the motorway, and then our articulated lorry decided to give no warning and come into the middle lane off the motorway as well. And he done that quite quickly, and then I basically faced 2 choices: either go into the back of him and cause a massive pile-up on the motorway, or swerve out of his way, which I decided to do. And as I swerved out of the way, I lost control of the car and hit the bank. And basically, I'm lucky to be alive. Truthfully, I'm very lucky to be alive.
But as Ricky reflects on his lucky escape, another road crash victim arrives in accident and emergency. Minutes after dropping his girlfriend off in the centre of Birmingham, Nigel Broadfield's car was involved in a collision at traffic lights.
The main thing that we worry about are fractures of the spine, particularly at the top of the neck, because if somebody's got a fracture up there and they move their head, then the implications of that could be really serious.
What I want you to do, I'm going to touch your spine. I want you to let us know if there's any pain anywhere down the back of your spine. All right?
There's a lot of nerves which come out, particularly supplying the way that we breathe. So if we miss something, then it could have serious implications, really. So we're basically just doubly sure.
Nigel, we're going to send you for an X-ray of your neck. All right?
Sometimes we do need to do a bit of a scan. There's a couple of bones at the bottom of the neck which can sometimes be difficult to look at, but most of the time a simple X-ray in combination with sort of clinical examination are fine, really, to exclude anything serious.
Christine Pedley, who was knocked for 6 by a dog, has been examined by Dr. Jerry Amana, and her injured wrist has been X-rayed.
What's happened is that this lady has broken her wrist. Now, this is my hand, right? This is the thumb. This is the wrist. Now, this is the forearm, right? Now, what has happened is that the lady has broken the distal end of the forearm around here. Now, I'll go to the X-ray. This is the wrist area, right? This is the thumb on the X-ray, and this is the forearm bone. And as you can see here, can you see this kind of line here? That's the break. And then also the other bone, which is, if I can use my hand as well, this side as well of the forearm, the tip of it has broken off. What we're going to do now is to try and manipulate it, just give it a bit of a pull to get it to realign it a bit.
Open wide. Wide as you can.
Nigel Broadfield is in X-ray. Insurers sometimes foot the bill for X-rays on crash victims, typically running into hundreds of pounds.
76543. Okay, I've got the right patient, I've got a correct marker, I've got a nice exposure. Yes, that's a nice film. Okay, so we're happy with that.
On the basis of all the X-rays that we've done, we haven't got any concerns of any bony injury to this gentleman's cervical spine. So therefore, what we're going to do is we'll take his collar off. We'll obviously be there at the time, get him to move his head about a little bit, and hopefully we'll be able to send him home with some painkillers and a bit of physio for his neck. There's certainly nothing for you to worry about. There's no fractures. It's most likely that you've done something to the ligaments and the muscles around in your neck. All right, so we'll get you some painkillers, and then we'll hopefully you'll be feeling a bit better.
A week has passed since his motorway accident, and Ricky Baines is ready to take his first steps with the help of physiotherapist Jane Mason.
Morning, Ricky. How are you today?
Not bad, how are you?
I'm not so bad, thanks. The doctors saw Ricky yesterday and they've completed all their investigations and they're happy for Ricky now to get up and start moving around. They're happy that his fractures are stable. Obviously with spinal injuries we're concerned about any damage or involvement with the spinal cord. There isn't any that we know of at the moment, but obviously if anything was to change while we were moving him, it's important that we know that and we can report that back. Ready, set, move. Rolling him over and sitting him up protects the spine a little bit more than just sitting straight up. 1, 2, 3. It was important that we monitored him throughout to check that he didn't drop his blood pressure too much or become unwell, which can happen when someone's been on bed rest for a period of time. Okay, so come forward, 1, 2, 3 and stand up. Okay, take hold of my hand, take hold of Helen's hand and just stand, okay? How's that?
Yeah.
Pain?
Pain, yeah.
Same place? Same pain? Yeah. Nothing else?
Nothing else.
No? Okay. Because it was his first time out of bed, we literally just moved him to the chair rather than doing too much more so as not to overdo it with him and overtire him or make his pains worse. Just slowly do it, let your arms do the work. Wonderful. How he was what we expected him to be, and I think he did very well. I think he was quite pleased with himself as well. How do you feel there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just scared because I knew that I'd been lying down for so long, and everybody that came to see me always said that you have to stay still, you have to keep lying down. And I knew that this was going to be my first major movement, so I knew that as long as this goes well, then I know my back's strong enough to hold my own weight.
Dr. Jerry Amana and his team are plastering Christine Pedley's arm.
I hope with them pulling it, we'll have sorted everything out, and we've just got to wait and see how long I'm going to keep the plaster on, and that'll be it then. Everything will be okay. There's no hard feelings to the dogs. I've had dogs right from being a small child. I love them, and it wasn't his fault, so next time I see him, he'll just get a fuss the same again.
For Nigel Broadfield, it's time to go home. And with his car written off, girlfriend Karen Jordan has come to collect him.
He seems okay, but obviously time will tell. Just have to wait and see.
It was very stiff and very shook up, shaking. Obviously a bit disorientated because I didn't know what had gone on. Looking forward to a nice bath and a lie down, I think.
After his unexpected detour to Selly Oak, at last Nigel leaves A&E, armed with a prescription for painkillers and an appointment for physiotherapy. Back at home, Christine Pedley's love of dogs is as strong as ever, and she's back out walking hers, Hooch, even though she has to manage with only one hand.
I went right back for an X-ray yesterday, and everything's knitting together nicely, so hopefully within a few more weeks I can have the cast off. It hasn't changed my attitude to dogs at all. They're family pets. They were playing with the ball, they were oblivious to me standing there. I wasn't concentrating, and so down I went. But I suppose in the way, if a dog had attacked me in the street, then it would have been a different matter. I might feel a little bit, wary.
Her trip to A&E has taught Christine one thing, though.
I'll just probably keep a bit more notice so that if they're playing with the ball, I shall sit down and then I won't get knocked down.
Ricky Baines is preparing to leave hospital, and when his family visit, they're just in time to see him back up on his feet.